talked to a couple of people from the West Wing in the last week, and they said, you know, the coronavirus, the Chinese knew it was happening. They, for their own political and domestic and economic reasons, kept it quiet. And when they sent a delegation of their most senior leaders to the White House to go into the Oval Office and shake hands with the President of the United States, they knew that they had that crisis, and they did not talk about it. They did not warn anybody about it. Now, I'm not saying that they were weaponizing biological weapons and bringing them into the West Wing, but to me, that says an enormous amount, that here is a country that is willing to send the most senior delegation, a very large delegation, to the United States to finish negotiating and signing in the East Room of the White House the Phase 1 U.S.-China trade agreement, and yet they knew the whole time that what they were sitting on.
Dr. Lee, would you care to comment about the role and importance of the trilateral alliance?
한미일 제3자 동맹의 중요한 뜻을 설명해 주실 수 있을까요?
저는 그 97년에 탈북을 해서 대한민국에 와서 지금 23년째 살고 있는 탈북자입니다.
So I'm a former North Korean defector. I defected North Korea in 1997. So basically I've lived in South Korea for about 23 years.
탈북자의 입장에서 바라볼 때 한미일 이 관계는 자유를 가치로 하는 그 동맹 관계라고 생각을 합니다.
So as a former North Korean defector, or the North Korean defectors, I believe the tri-alliance between United States, Japan, and South Korea should be based on the values of the freedom and liberty.
한국의 입장에서 이 한미일 이 자유 동맹에 속해 있기 때문에 한국은 지난 70년 동안 번영을 이루었다고 생각을 합니다.
I believe Korea was able to enjoy the true prosperity for the past 70 years just because of this alliance established based on liberty and freedom with the United States.
북한에 고향을 둔 사람으로서 만일 북한 사람들이 미국과 함께 동맹을 구축했더라면 지금처럼 저렇게 인구의 45%가 영양실조에 죽어가는 처지에 빠지지는 않았을 거라고 생각을 합니다.
So as a person who has still home back in North Korea, I believe that if North Korea had decided to work hand in hand with the United States, I'm sure the North Korea would have been able to enjoy the prosperity that South Korea is enjoying today. In North Korea right now, the 45% of populations is suffering from malnutrition, and that should not be there.
한국의 입장에서 한미일 이 삼각동맹은 한국의 번영을 가져다 준 측면이 있고 또 미국과 일본의 입장에서 제가 생각하기에는
So I believe the alliance between United States, Japan, and Korea was the basic and fundamental key to the success of South Korea, and I believe, and I'll continue.
만일 그 아시아에 한국이라는 그 자유의 기치를 내건 국가가 없었더라면 미국이 공산주의를 막아내는데 상당히 어려움이 있지 않았을까 이렇게 생각을 합니다.
So I dare say the United States would have had difficult time defending true freedom and liberty in the East Asian region had there been no South Korea who was built based on the values of liberty.
그렇기 때문에 지금 그 중국 공산당이 한국에 대한 집중적인 공격을 통해서 한국의 자유민주주의가 지금 무너지고 있다고 생각을 합니다.
I think that's the reason why the Communist Party of China is deliberately attacking South Korea to collapse and destroy and disrupt the values of the liberty in South Korea, so that South Korea will fall.
6.25 전쟁이라고 하는 그 공산주의와 자유민주주의와의 이 전쟁에서 미국과 한국은 동맹국으로서 정말 혈맹으로서 싸워서 공산주의를 막아냈습니다.
As we all know very well, the South Korea and the United States was a bloodshed alliance who defended the invasions and attack of the Communist Party of China during Korean War that broke out in June 25th.
그러나 6.25 전쟁에서 북한까지도 그 공산주의에서 해방했어야 되는데 북한을 공산주의에서 해방하지 못한 그런 아쉬움이 현재 한반도에서 공산화의 위협을 가져오는 원인이 되지 않았나 이렇게 생각합니다.
It's regrettable that United States and South Korea were not able to liberate North Korea during Korean War. If we won the Korean War at that time, we could help North Korea become a prosperous country like South Korea. Now the outcome, we see it clearly today because the North Korea is working with the Chinese and try to communize South Korea by all means. So that's very regrettable to see.
이승만 대통령께서 54년 7월 28일에 미 양원에서 연설하시면서 이렇게 말씀하신 것이 있습니다.
54년 언제요?
7월 28일.
On July 28, 1954, then President Syngman Rhee spoke in front of the Congress of the United States. And he said,
한국의 산과 계곡에는 한미 양국의 군인들의 영혼이 하늘로 올라갔다고 말씀하셨습니다.
he said, we can see the ascending of the spirit of Korean soldiers and American soldiers who have killed during Korean World War, ascending from the ground and the mountain of South Korea into the heaven.
그래서 하나님께서 한미 양국의 그 군인들이 한국의 계곡과 그 산으로부터 올라간 그 영혼들을 하나님께서 이렇게 다 같이 품고 계신다고 말씀을 하셨습니다.
And he also said God must embrace the spirit and the spirit of the South Korean soldiers and American soldiers who have died in the valleys and the mountains of South Korea.
그래서 저는 그 말씀을 보면서 한미 동맹이라는 것은 인간의 동맹이 아니라 이것은 하늘로부터 허락받은 동맹이라고 생각을 합니다.
So I don't think the United States and Korea alliance is not just an alliance between human beings. I believe this is a God-given and God-blessed alliance between the United States and South Korea.
저의 간절한 소원은 북한에 고향을 둔 사람으로서
As a person who still have home back in North Korea,
하루빨리 북한 주민들도 그 공산 압제에서 해방이 되고 이 한미일 이 자유의 가치를 내거니 정말 위대하고 정말 번영하는 그런 동맹에 편입되기를 간절히 바랍니다.
my true wish is that one day all the people in North Korea would be liberated from the oppressions of the communism of North Korea and realize and appreciate and enjoy the true value of liberty that's being enjoyed in the United States and South Korea and Japan, and so that they can be the part of this great and wonderful, incredible, the freedom and liberty of the world.
저는 공산주의 국가, 공산주의를 추구하는 사회주의 국가에서 33년을 살았는데요.
I lived in a socialist state, which is heavily influenced by the communism for about 33 years of my life.
인간의 오만이 만들어낸 이 공산주의, 사회주의 이 배급 체제는
The socialism that has been created based on the greed of the human,
지옥보다 더 지옥이라고 생각을 합니다.
I think this could be worse than the hell.
최근에 중국의 한 청년이 중국 공산당은 지옥보다 더 나쁜 것이라고 얘기를 했습니다.
A young man from China stated that the communism is actually worse than the hell.
지옥에서는 말이라도 마음대로 할 수 있는데
He said, at least in the hell, you can say whatever you want.
중국 공산당에서는 말도 마음대로 못하게 한다.
But on the land of China, you can't even say a word.
예, 저는 거기에 너무 공감을 했습니다.
And I totally hear him.
그런데 중국의 그 청년이 살고 있는 중국 공산당보다 북한의 공산 지역은 1000배나 더한 지역입니다.
But I dare say the communism system in North Korea is at least 1,000 times worse than the situations influenced by the communism in China.
저는 미국인들이 북한 주민들에게 한 약속을 지켜야 된다고 생각을 합니다.
And I believe and I hope that the Americans should keep their promise that has been made for North Korean people. 미군이 이제 북한에 그때 6.25 전쟁 때 북한에 올라갔다가 51년도에 이 후퇴하면서 북한 주민들에게 약속했습니다. So American soldiers made a promise to the Korean population when they were retreating in 1951 from northern part of Korea during Korean War.
진달래꽃이 피면 미군이 돌아온다고 했거든요.
American soldiers promised that when spring comes, we will we'll be back.
근데 70년이 지났는데 아직도 돌아오지 않았습니다.
Well, they are not back after 70 years.
저희 아버지는 이제 6.25 전쟁 때 해주까지 오셨다가 북한으로 다시 끌려가셨는데요.
My father was in the northern part of northern part of Korea, and he was captured and brought back to the North Korea.
북한에 남아 있었던 그 크리스찬들하고 이제 삐라를 막 붙였습니다.
So they were handing out all the leaflets along with the Christian groups at that time.
진달래꽃이 다시 피면 미군이 돌아온다.
And that leaflet said, when spring comes, the American soldiers would come back.
거기에 남아 있는 북한 주민들의 기다림이었고 소원이었습니다.
That was a longing and the hope and waiting of North Korean people at that time.
그때 사람들 중에 일부 사람들은 올해에도 진달래꽃은 피지 않는가 이렇게 절규합니다.
So just because American soldiers didn't come back next year, some of the people in North Korea thought that maybe spring would never come.
한국인들도 그 약속을 잊어버렸고 미국도 잊어버린 것 같습니다.
It seemed like at that time, both South Koreans and Americans forgot the promises that they've made.
저는 미국과 트럼프 대통령께서 내년까지는 올해는 이제 진달래꽃이 내일 모레면 필 거니까 내년까지는 꼭 북한의 자유의 진달래꽃이 필 수 있도록 약속을 지켜주셨으면 좋겠습니다.
And I would dare ask Donald Trump, the President of the United States, to keep the American promises to liberate North Korean people by, well, I would say not this spring because we're almost there and then nothing is happening so far, but by next year, 2021 spring, hopefully the promise will be kept.
북한에서 김정은 그 악마 집단을 몰아내고
We need to expel the evil groups under the control of Kim Jong-un.
북한 주민들도 한미일 자유동맹에 속하게 된다면
And if North Korean people joins the true alliance of United States, Japan, and South Korea,
한반도에 진정한 평화가 올 것이고
and I believe that true peace would arrive in the Korean Peninsula.
한반도는 아마도 크레물린과 중국 공산당을 막아내는데 아주 확실하고 중요한 역할을 할 수 있을 거라고 믿습니다.
If that happens, then the reunified Korea would be able to fight against the Russia and China very successfully.
전 세계에서 사회주의, 공산주의는 반드시 없어져야 된다고 생각을 합니다.
I believe very strongly that the communism and socialism in the world should disappear.
인간의 오만이 만들어낸 그 사회주의, 공산주의가 얼마나 인류를 파괴했는지 많은 분들이 잘 알고 계시고
We all know how devastating effect the socialism and communism had created, the system that had been created based on the human arrogance and greed.
저는 북한에서 33년 살면서
Based on my life, 33 years of my life in North Korea,
사회주의가 정말 인간에 의해서 인간에 의해서 인간을 노예로 만드는 정말 나쁜 그런 체제라고 저는 확신을 하게 됐습니다.
I learned and I believe that socialism is a system created by human which destroys devastatingly the human itself.
미국은 자유의 종주국으로서 반드시 이 전 세계에서 사회주의, 공산주의를 없애야 될 책임이 있다고 생각을 합니다.
The United States is the founding country that's built based on the values of liberty and democracy, and I think United States is responsible and has responsibility to defend this true democracy and freedom for the entire all the countries in the world.
다시 한번 부탁드리지만 내년에는 꼭 자유의 진달래꽃이 평양에도 백두산에도 필 수 있도록 우리 미국인들이 꼭 약속을 지켜줬으면 좋겠습니다.
So I dare ask once again, please by 2021 spring, help spring come in the area of Pyongyang and the mountains of North Korea so that North Korean people can truly enjoy and appreciate the values of liberty and freedom.
그래서 한미일 삼각동맹이 더 광범위하게 이렇게 확장되기를 간절히 바랍니다.
So that ultimately the Korea, Japan, and United States alliance will be expanded and appreciated by the entire nation and the world.
발언 기회를 주셔서 고맙습니다.
Thank you very much.
Before we entertain some questions for the audience, I wonder if we're all right on time to pose another question to the panelists. Would you be willing to entertain a further question from myself, the moderator? And that is, we saw that the left-wing regime, the Moon Jae-in in South Korea, had previously announced its intention to withdraw from the GSOMIA intelligence sharing pact with the government of Japan. And I was wondering if the Moon regime once again announces at some point in the future its re-intention to once again attempt to withdraw from that pact, what the impact would be on the trilateral alliance. And all of you would care to briefly comment on that.
I think that's you. You're the intelligence expert.
It's a very serious development to see these disagreements between our two close allies, Japan and South Korea. And a failure to cooperate in intelligence and in defense matters is strengthening China. This can't happen. Japan can't do things like this. The South Korean government can't do things like this. And that's what the U.S. is trying to make it clear to both governments, that we have to stick together because of the threat from China, which is growing exponentially every year. And I think we need to get together and say, if you think the coronavirus problem was bad, you ain't seen nothing yet. What if a much more serious virus with a much higher fatality rate was being circulated right now? There are going to be more viruses like this coming out of China because of the way the system operates, because of these food markets selling exotic foods that Chinese people are selling, the lies and deception of the Chinese government. This is a very serious situation. So my hope is that is not going to happen, that there will not be any cutbacks on intelligence and defense cooperation between the two nations. I know they have some differences to resolve, but this is a very bad development given the threat from China.
Would any other of the panelists, Ms. McFarland
No,
or Dr. Lee, like to comment on that?
No, I will associate myself with Fred's remarks.
All right, then, and if any member of the audience has a question they would like to ask any of our panelists, I would appreciate it if you would frame it in the form of a question rather than a comment. If any of you have such a question, please approach the microphones and pose your question at this time. Yes, please go over to the microphone so we can all, please use the microphone so we can all hear you.
Hi, I'm Michael Wan, politics editor for Korea Daily. This is a question for Mr. McFarland. I wanted to ask, how do you think, honestly, about the Moon administration? Are they interrupting the process between Trump's negotiation with Kim Jong-un? What is your thought on that?
You know, I probably would have to defer to Fred Fleiss, who's more current information on it. But the thing about Trump is he believes in personal diplomacy. And if I can just give you sort of some insight into him, which I write about in my new book, which you are all going to come to buy in the convention center and a book signing this afternoon at 2 o'clock. But think of Trump this way. He's a businessman who spent his entire life as the sole proprietor of his business. And in the New York business family, real estate families, of which he is one, they tend to be very different than any other American businesses and corporations. The patriarch of the family, the one who founded the company or is running the company, he owns all the stock in it. These are not publicly held companies, they're privately owned companies. He has members of his family who have different divisions in the real estate company. So that's why when President Trump was Donald Trump real estate investor, he had Eric Trump, Ivanka Trump, Donald Trump, all the family members, the uncles, the brothers, they all work in the same family. And the boss, who sets all the rules and regulations and makes all the deals, is the patriarch, and that's Donald Trump. So when two New York real estate families negotiate with each other, it's not done at the low level. It's when the top two titans get into the room, they look each other over, they size each other up, they know the other guy's balance sheets, they know his strengths and weaknesses. It's like a chess game. And Trump feels very strongly that only the top guy can take the really big leaps and make the strong decisions and do something different and unpredictable because he's responsible for it. So when Trump became president, he approaches diplomacy in the same way he approaches New York real estate deals. He wants to meet with the top guy, and he wants to look him over, look at his body language, taunt him, trash talk him, flatter him, whatever he has to do to get the deal. And so to the extent of anyone saying, well, so-and-so is going to get in the middle of Trump in this negotiation, no. Trump negotiates directly. He negotiates directly with Xi Jinping. He negotiates directly with Kim, as Fred pointed out, handwritten letters, and he negotiates directly with everybody. The other thing about Trump is he talks on the phone all day long. When people make fun of him and say, well, he didn't have a meeting during these 2-hour periods, he picks up the phone and he will call anybody. He will call his real estate buddies. He will call business people all around the world. He will call foreign heads of state. He places a lot of confidence in his own ability to negotiate personally, and he believes in a handshake and the head guy negotiating with the head guy. So in my experience, one of the reasons Trump wanted direct negotiations with the North Koreans instead of 4-party talks or 6-party talks is he wants to do the deal himself because he knows that the big deals, the ones that are going to take a real leap, the ones that are going to take a major risk and chance are only done head guy to head guy. But I think maybe Fred can speak about the more recent developments.
It's an interesting question about President Moon and President Trump's efforts to get some type of an agreement with North Korea. Kim came to the negotiating table because of President Trump's tough policies, his efforts to significantly strengthen sanctions and to get China to abide by sanctions. Yeah. And by very, very tough rhetoric that I think got the attention of North Korean leaders and made them wary. Remember from the floor of the UN General Assembly when President Trump said he would utterly destroy North Korea if it threatened our allies in the area. That got Kim's attention. But we have to give President Moon some credit because he did help facilitate the Trump-Kim meeting. That's good. But it's pretty clear, I mean, President Moon helped set up the Trump-Kim meeting. It's pretty clear Moon wants an agreement too badly. And we've seen this repeatedly with American negotiators when they've dealt with rogue states. When the U.S. wanted an agreement to brag about more than the other state did. That certainly was true with the nuclear deal with Iran, where the Obama administration was just desperate for a deal that was almost a trophy for President Obama to brag about. And it has been necessary repeatedly for U.S. diplomats to say to the Moon government to basically slow down a little bit here. Stop offering concessions to Kim before the Kim government fulfills its agreement made in Singapore to start the denuclearization process, to start lower level talks to bring about an agreement. I think Moon is desperate for an agreement. Moon is too desperate to make concessions to get agreement without getting anything back from the Kim government. It is a problem. It's a problem that the U.S. is dealing with, and I don't know how bad it is at this moment, but it is a factor that the U.S. has to deal with.
Okay, just one more question to Fred. Do you think Kim Jong-un really does have the final say, or do you think he's still in his 30s? Doesn't he get a lot of pressure from the generals around him, too?
Well, that's an interesting question, and I think it's fair to say we don't know exactly how the Kim government operates. And I have heard some information from people who've met with the Kim government raising questions about how decision-making is made and whether there are enablers or influencers that play a role in Kim's decision-making. And I say that, but at the same time, I hear people say that he has an iron grip, he's the final decision-maker, and we know he has executed hundreds of advisors and generals, members of his own family, like his father and grandfather. His regime is a little bit of an enigma. We don't know exactly how the decision-making is being made. So anyway, that's my take.
Can I just add to reinforce what you've said, and using this following example, which I write about. When I worked for Henry Kissinger during the 1970s, that was when the United States had the opening to China, when Nixon went to China, the week that changed the world, and the United States has been set on a different relationship with China than it had before. I was in China maybe a decade ago, and somebody who's about my age, because I had worked for Kissinger when I was in my late teens, early 20s, he said, you know, when I was growing up in Beijing, we always thought that America was our enemy, with Satan, it was our, you know, just our mortal enemy, and they were going to have nuclear weapons dropped on Beijing any minute. And he said, and all of a sudden, one day, on the side of buses, on the top of every newspaper banner, posters that are all along the wall, there was a picture of Mao Zedong shaking hands with Richard Nixon in Beijing. And he said, that's the moment that we knew China was now America's friend, and America was China's friend. And we knew from that moment forward everything had changed. He also said, as we then talked later about it, that it was a signal to the Chinese people things were going to be very different, and rich America was going to have a new relationship with China, which is bigger than just a handshake, bigger than just a peace treaty, but it would be economic. So I think in my own mind, as sort of analyzing human behavior, which is a big part of diplomacy, the pictures that were all over North Korea, all over the world, but all over North Korea, the pictures of Trump and Kim shaking hands at Panmunjom, that's a signal to the North Korean people. Things are going to change, life's going to get better. Now, I have no illusions that the North Korean people are going to rise up in some revolution, but I think Fred's mentioned a very important part in your question as well, the generals. They're promised a whole new life too. These are the people all around Kim that are keeping him in power, that he's terrorizing and torturing and everything else. And if that life, that new life is not delivered, Trump could walk away in a minute. You know, people have criticized Trump that, oh, you're giving Kim Jong-un all this credibility on the world stage. Of course, that's the point. Give him that credibility and then pull it away if he doesn't do what we hope he does. Now, will Trump pull it away second term? I think he will. I think Trump has no problem walking away from a bad deal. He'll walk away from it, he'll tweet about it, he'll call him, you know, Lil' Kim again. But I do think that then what happens is, what about the leadership cadre around Kim? If Kim has to no longer be a great leader on the world stage, no longer going to Singapore, no longer celebrated, he has to go back to the Hermit Kingdom with the sycophantic generals, and life is going to get squeezed tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, because that's what we'll continue to do. At what point, maybe, do you have a palace coup? I don't know. As Fred said, this is all slim chances of success, but it's better than nothing.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to, oh, is there another question? Yes. I think we can entertain just one more. One more question, please.
Hi, thank you. I'm Ong-Nam Lee from Sine Hansu YouTube channel. Thank you for your impressive presentation.
Could you speak a little louder or closer to the mic?
Okay. I would like to ask American fellow, actually, as a Korean citizen, I feel like really insecure, because since Moon Jae-in regime, Korea and American alliance obviously weakened. But when I heard the remarks from USFK Command, Abrams, Combined Forces Command, right? He told me U.S. Korea and U.S. alliance is strong. It's like ironclad alliance, and he told us that there is a lot of rumor. It's fake news that Korea and American alliance is weakened. So my question is, how to use the future of Korea and American alliance, because there is another top issue like THAAD deployment issues and dysomia issues, etc. So I would like to listen to really candid answer from American citizens or fellows. Thank you.
See, I don't think these are big deal. I mean, I've been around this business for 50 years, and I don't think that something about the THAAD deployment and we're arguing about who's going to pay for what piece of real estate, these are things we can solve. But we have to understand, and I hope the Moon government does, or whatever government replaces the Moon government, and that is the choice not of Donald Trump or the American people. That is the choice of the Korean people. But whoever your leaders are, if you can, as Fred Fleiss said, you have to do some work too. You have to contribute to our common defense. We need a fair and equitable trading relationship, but you need to deal with your own peninsula. You need to deal with the Japanese. You need to find a place where you can work together. We are all in this together, but we are not going to fight your battles for you. Those days of America are over. That's why we encourage you to your country to have a leadership that will negotiate well with ours. We'll give a little, you'll give a little, we'll find a common ground. But if the United States and Japan and Korea form a tight alliance and are firm and strong, that means the Pacific will remain free. If not, if you're squabbling among yourselves, if we're squabbling with you, then as Fred just said, the only winner in this is China. And China, do not make any mistake, China has been clear that its long-range goal is as follows: to have the South China Sea become an independent Chinese lake, a Chinese lake which the Chinese control access to. They have a Silk Road, the One Belt, One Road, where the Chinese are going to control land-based access. So they will have a maritime and a land-based trade route access they will control that will go from Europe to the Middle East to Africa, all the way around to Japan and Korea and the rest of Asia. That's their goal. That's their first goal. Their next goal is to dominate the technology high frontier space. So that with a 5G network, for example, that the Chinese will own the technologies of the future, whether they have to buy them from Korea, steal them from America. They want to have the dominance of the technology and communication systems of the future. And then on the 100th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China, they plan to have the United States out of the Pacific and back to the shores of the west coast of California. And so I think we're all in this together, but I encourage you, the same way people encouraged people like us a decade ago, go out there and make the case to your own people. Change the attitudes in your country. Speak out. Don't be afraid. If you believe in something, you just go for it. And then change the conversation in your nations, because you are a democracy, because you have close to a free press, probably freer than ours is right now. And go and make those cases to your people. Encourage your friends, your Japanese friends, your business partners in Japan, your business partners in other countries in the region. If we stay strong, then China will, we do not want to contain China, we don't want to stop China, we don't want to suppress China, but we don't want China to treat us all as vassal nations.
Excuse me, I'd like to just interpret a little bit because I think that's very critical information. All right.
Okay.
중요한 얘기이기 때문에 간단하게만 제가 좀 정리를 해서 말씀을 드리도록 하겠습니다. 지금 그 한국과 미국의 동맹 관계가 이제 약해지고 있다라는 그러한 이제 소문도 돌고 있지만 그렇게 피부로 느끼시는 분들이 많이 계신데 그 중에 아마 하나가 그 국방 예산을 더 증강시키고자 하는 그 트럼프 대통령의 발언들 때문에 그런 것으로 지금 제가 생각이 되는데 그래서 지금 케이티 맥파랜드 님께서 말씀하신 것 중에 하나는 이제 우리가 다른 한 나라에 의존해서 내 나라를 지켜나가던 시대는 오래전에 이미 끝났다는 사실을 우리가 알아야 되는 거고 이것은 오히려 더 자랑스러운 그 소식이기 때문에 이것을 다른 사람들이 역으로 이용해서 우리를 공격한다 할지라도 그것을 자신 있게 소신 있는 마음을 가지고 오히려 한국 사람들에게 발표를 해야 한다는 것이죠. 그래서 한국과 미국과 일본이 동맹관계를 구축을 해 나가려는 것이지 이러한 사실은 돈과 같은 국가적인 것이 쉽게 해결할 수 있는 금전적이고 예산적인 문제에 있어서 만약에 이 세 나라의 동맹이 조금씩 무너지기 시작한다면 그로 인해서 이익을 보는 나라는 유일하게 중국이라는 것입니다. 따라서 중국을 세 나라가 같이 방어하기 위해서 우리가 함께 똘똘 뭉쳐야만 하는 것이지 이러한 이슈들 때문에 오히려 우리 세 나라의 관계가 악화되는 것은 말도 안 되는 그러한 일이기 때문에 최선을 다해서 함께 일을 해야 하는 것이 중요하다라는 그러한 요점을 잡힌 말씀을 해주셨습니다.
Thank you for that translation. And Mr. Fleitz, if you would like to comment, and then we'll go to closing remarks after Mr. Fleitz's comment.
Well, like the United States, South Korea is blessed with a robust democracy, and you have liberals and conservatives. You have people who want to take a soft line on on North Korea. Those who want to take a hard line. The Moon government wants to take a soft line. It's a liberal government. We realize that in the United States, that your policies move as the people vote in different governments, as the pendulum swings from right to left. And when a government like Moon comes in, it's going to be held accountable for its policies. Was it too easy in North Korea? I think the Moon government's position on China and the coronavirus is going to cost it. The Korean people are going to hold the Moon government accountable on how it dealt with China, its policies towards the North. I mean, we know the debate in South Korea is a very tense one on how to deal with North Korea, on issues of reunification. So USFK commanders, they realize that. Our commanders have been in South Korea for a long time. We understand that your policies change just like they do here. I mean, God forbid if Bernie Sanders becomes president, there will be big changes here. And you'll all be wondering, and then we'll vote Sanders out because his policies will be a disaster, and we'll have maybe Ivanka Trump will be president in the future. Who knows? So, Winston Churchill once said that democracies are the worst form of government except for all the rest. They're messy. And so we understand that, and it's a healthy thing to thrash these issues out and for the people of both countries to hold their politicians accountable.
Thank you. I'd like to now go to closing remarks from each or any of you, please. Closing remarks. Anything you'd like to add to what you've already said?
You know, I guess I would say you're here because you're political activists. And you're involved and you care about your country and you care about the future and you care about a strong relationship with the United States. The people who are at CPAC, who you're now just getting to know, 10 years ago, President Obama was president of the United States, a far-left president, like President Moon, probably further left than President Moon. And many of us went out and made the case, made the argument, argued with people, went on television, wrote articles, campaigned around the country, talked about what we thought was a vision, a conservative vision for the United States, the economic prosperity, tax cuts, standing up, renegotiating our security and trade agreements, getting out of wars in the Middle East that we couldn't win, and focusing on Asia. Now, we've changed a country. And as one of the favorite things to quote from Margaret Thatcher, who came as Prime Minister of Britain after Churchill of many decades, she said, first you win the argument, then you win the election. So I would just encourage all of you, I think we all agree on the future we want. Go back to your countries, make the case, don't be afraid, stand up, make the arguments, have people tell you you're hysterical, have people tell you you're a conspiracy theorist, have people tell you you're nuts, but just go keep doing it because we're the people who changed the country and allowed the election of Donald Trump and are going to get him reelected, and you can go do the same thing. Let's go for it, just go.
I would just reiterate how valuable the U.S. relationship is with South Korea and Japan, how crucial it is that we have a strong defense relationship, a strong intelligence relationship, that we cooperate so we can stand up to North Korea and we can stand up to China. This is so crucial for our security. We're seeing it this week with these reports on coronavirus. And whatever differences are between the two countries, please don't let them stand in the way of this strong cooperation. It isn't simply crucial for regional security, it's crucial for international security.
Yeah.
이번에 이 CPEC의 K-스펙으로도 이렇게 참여하면서 참 그 미국의 보수주의자들의 그 위대한 그 성취에 대해서 많이 감동을 받았습니다.
So I have been invited by KCPAC to attend the CPAC, and I am extremely impressed by the greatness of the American conservative that I have eyewitnessed at this function.
지금 대한민국은 상당한 자유진영의 위기에 처해 있습니다.
South Korea is faced with a dangerous and possible collapse of the freedom and democracy.
저는 트럼프 대통령의 방위비 분담 인상 때문에 한미 관계가 삐걱거리는 게 아니고 문재인 대통령의 그 공산주의적인 행보, 친중적인 행보가 한미 관계를 위협한다고 생각하고 있습니다.
I seriously don't believe that the defense budget between U.S. and ROK is disrupting our alliance between U.S. and Korea. I think it is the communistic thinking and the pro-China thinking that Moon Jae-in, the President Moon, is having.
이러한 원인은 북한의 70년 동안의 그 공작에 의해서 만들어진 것이고요.
I think this is a cleverly crafted and designed and executed by the North Korean who have been planning this for the past 70 years.
한국의 자유진영은 지금 공산주의자들에게 이제 기득권을 빼앗겨서 한국이 위험해졌다고 생각합니다.
And I believe all the people in South Korea have been deeply influenced by the thought of communism seeded by North Koreans.
저희 자유진영은 지금의 이 위기 속에서 자유라는 것이 그냥 지켜지는 것이 아니고 우리가 얼마나 많은 땀과 피를 흘려야만 지켜질 수 있는 건지 많이 깨닫게 되는 것 같습니다.
The people who appreciate freedom and democracy in South Korea know that freedom is not free and no pain, no gain. We have to fight for it in order to earn it.
어제 그 청와대 앞에 그 강약교회가 다 철거당했고 지금 정광훈 목사님은 체포되었고 지금 그 크리스찬들은 종로 경찰서에서 예배를 드리고 있습니다.
Very recently, the Wilderness Church established in front of the Blue House in Korea has been dismantled. The Reverend Chun, who have spearheaded the mass rallies against the current administration, has been incarcerated. And then Christians are actually having service right now in jail.
자유진영의 가장 핵심인 기독교가 지금 한국에서 탄압당하고 있다는 것입니다.
Religion, which is one of the most critical and crucial elements of the freedom in a democracy, has been and is being oppressed in South Korea.
우울한 한국 상황 속에서 저희들이 이렇게 CPAC 행사에 참가하게 된 것은 하나님의 특별한 계획이 있으리라고 믿습니다.
This is the bleak situations that we're in South Korea, and I think that this is a God-given opportunity for me to attend the CPAC and learn how things are done here in America in terms of conservatism and the values of freedom and democracy.
미국의 보수주의자들 또 이 자유진영이 한국의 이 자유진영을 도와주십시오.
I ask American conservatives, please help Korean conservatives.
한국인들은 지금 많이 불안해하고 있고
We are very insecure right now. We need help.
정말 고통스러워하고 있습니다.
And we are in pain and trouble.
그 사람들이 지난 150일 동안 청와대 앞에서 한겨울을 야외에서 철야 기도를 했습니다.
For the past 150 days, many Christians and conservatives have gathered together in front of the Blue House and prayed day and night in this vicious cold.
4년 동안 매주 토요일 한 주도 빼지 않고 태극기, 성조기를 흔들면서 자유를 지키기 위해서 피 흘리고 있습니다.
The same people gathered together with the flags of the United States and South Korea every Saturday for the past 4 years without a single failure, gathering and protesting, asking for the freedom and democracy.
저는 CPAC과 함께 또 미국의 자유주의자들, 보수주의자들과 함께 대한민국을 꼭 지키고
I will protect and defend the values of democracy and freedom of South Korea along with American friends and American conservatives gathered here at CPAC.
북한까지도 자유화해서
And I would love to help people in North Korea as well.
한반도가 반드시 이 자유 동맹에 확실하게 합류되기를 간절히 바랍니다.
And I truly hope that one day the both Koreas would truly appreciate and join and enjoy the true alliance of United States and South Korea based on the democracy and freedom.
감사합니다.
Thank you.
With that, I'd like to announce that in this same location, at 1 p.m. today approximately, we will be having our second panel, which is on the topic of the threat of Communist China and North Korea to the U.S., the Republic of Korea, South Korea, and our other allies. And we'd very much appreciate if you also attend that panel and tell your friends and colleagues about it. But finally, I would like to thank, on behalf of KCPAC and on behalf of all of you in the audience, our wonderful panelists, Ms. McFarland, Mr. Fleitz, and Dr. Lee. Let's give them a big round of applause.
And let's also thank Patrick.
And of course, our wonderful
He's
translator.
spectacular.